Welcome back once again to the dungeon of the Doctors of Doom, where I am your host, Alex the Shark Sparks, and joining me this week is Mitch. You there, bud? Mitch, I can't hear you. That's right, Mitch isn't here, but you know who's back? It's Give It Up for the producer, Vinny. Call me Daddy Santucci. Say hello to all the Delvers out there, Vin.
Ooh, call me Daddy. What's
Okay.
up, Delvers?
You took that in
I'm
weird
glad
direction.
to be back. Yeah, I guess I don't know. I think there's a podcast called "Call Me Daddy" or "Call Her Daddy," and so I don't know why I went in the girl voice when.
Yeah, I was going to do
Definitely
Call Him
that would
Daddy
be-
as a throwback to that, because I've heard of that pod too, Call Her Daddy. I was going to do Call Him Daddy. I was like, no, I'll do Call Me Daddy because it sounds less weird. But then you made it weird.
Yeah.
The Renzo effect's going to run out soon if you keep making it weird. But anyway,
Yeah.
Welcome back. Glad to have you. Mitch couldn't be here. He's busy trying to have, a real job and get promoted. And, we just want to talk football. So we're here. We're dedicated.
Yeah, new Mitch. New Mitch sucks.
Yeah, he's on time, he's responsible, he let us know well in advance and apologized that he couldn't make it. What is this? That's not the Mitch we know.
And then even planned out till May.
He did.
Was there ever been a Mitch that has planned anything 2 months in advance?
Yeah, he wanted to set our schedule through May, and for those who don't know when we're recording this, it's March 11th. So dude gave us a 2-month schedule. Usually he's like, all right, I'll find out my schedule on Sunday to know if we can hang out on Monday.
Yeah. No.
All right.
Or like, I'll let you know in 5 minutes if I'll be there. And you're like, well...
Then you won't be there because...
I'm confused.
Yeah. All right, Vin. Ton of football news going on. Obviously, free agency has officially started. A lot has happened. You and I have a lot to talk about specifically because of the team we root for. But first, there's one major breaking story in sports about a different sport that we've got to talk about. I know it's on everyone's minds. Happening kind of recently. It's NBA related. That's right. I'm talking about the WNBA CBA agreement. They're still working out the issues. They haven't come to an agreement yet. Will they? Won't they? Who's going to get what? It's wild. So I figure we got an hour for the pod. We'll spend about 45 minutes on it and maybe 15 for football. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Especially because you're going to have to tell me all the details because this is the first I'm hearing of it.
Cool. But on a more realistic note, the NBA story that I am going to talk about, obviously, for those who don't know, Bam Adebayo went out there and dropped 83 points, second most scored all time, allegedly, if you believe that Wilt actually scored 100. That's neither here nor there. But yeah, so he went out and had a monster game scoring-wise, but I'm going to add some caveats to it. Look, it's a great achievement. Congrats, bro. Happy for you. The team won 150 to 129. Where's the defense? Like, seriously. I remember going to games at the Staples Center, back when it was called the Staples Center, where you would get 2 free tacos if the Lakers held the other team to under 100 points. Has there been a team held under 100 points in the last 5 years in any game, any stadium? That's not...
Yeah, I mean, no, I have a lot to say about this.
Okay, let me finish all my stats and I'll let you go off.
Obviously, the scoring is increased. Dude, if you want to take it back even further, I remember watching the Bulls and the Utah Jazz in the NBA Finals, and I'm pretty sure like Jordan's game winner was like 81-79. Like was the final score. Like that's like a first half score nowadays.
And we're talking about guys like Stockton, Malone, Jordan, guys who were like all-time greats. It's not like there weren't scorers on those teams. It's just people played defense. But yeah, so the rest that's I'll give then. So obviously, I'm not saying there needs to be an asterisk because like you can only play against in the area you're in. You're going to play against the talent you play against. I'm just saying I don't know that his 83 is as impressive as Kobe's 81 or some of the other big scorers. And here's some other stats I'll give towards that. For starters, he's the only player ever to score more than 70 points while shooting less than 50% from the field. So normally when someone pops off like this, which by the way, shooting less than 50% isn't necessarily a bad thing in pro basketball. I do need to say like a lot of the great players shoot around 45%. So it's, whatever. Like it's not a great, shooting's not always great for people. But the point that I'm making is usually when someone pops off for that many points, it's because they are on fire and they just can't be stopped. This is a guy who was not on fire. because he shot less than 50% of the field. In fact, he was on fire in the first quarter where he dropped 31 points. At halftime, he had 43, which is more than his previous career high of 41. So he'd already eclipsed that at the half. But then in the second half, he shot less than 37% from the field. Not good. He also had 43 free throw attempts. Like, come on, man. How do you go to the line for 43 tries? Even if every single one of those was for 2, not even a 1-and-1 type situation. You're talking about going to the line 21, 22 times. Like, how do you get fouled that often unless you're just always the guy with the ball? And even the coach was saying they were just trying to get him the points. Like, I mean, yeah, I get if a guy's hot, but, like, he wasn't hot in the second half. But they just kept feeding him the rock. So I think this is more of a volume play than it was, like, a skill play. Again, I'm not trying to say he's not skilled or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, it's crazy to me that he scored as much as he did when his actual, like, statistics were relatively average. Like, it's what an average game would be. He just had so many more attempts.
Yeah. And not only that, like, listen, if I'm a player, I'm like, I want to play for Eric Spoelstra because I know that you're just going to force feed me if I'm close. Like, if you actually watch it, there's the 83 points is impressive. Like, even being in that conversation and having a chance to do it, I will always celebrate it. But if you actually watch the highlights from it, you're like, this just feels so forced. They were up by 30 points, giving Bam Adebayo the ball. He's just chucking up 3-pointers. And they on defense were actually fouling the other team to get the ball back without running timeout. It's like they were doing like a hack-a-shack to get the ball just to give it to Bam Adebayo. And I'm like, you watch that and it's just like, I don't know, it just feels like a forced 83 points. Like, maybe in a normal game he's somewhere down near 70, which is, good in its own right. And it's easy for us to say, but it was just such a gross way to break a modern era record if you count Kobe. Obviously Wilt is 100, but you talk modern basketball. It was just a weird way to do it. So I'm very biased in this. I'm not going to pretend that I'm not. I'm a Laker fan. Kobe Bryant's my all-time favorite player. It was just you watch the highlights and it just kind of feels dirty.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it felt like they were just force feeding him the ball. And look, I get that. Look, if you get to the fourth quarter and you've just had a monster lights out game and you're sitting at 75, like, sure, maybe you feed a guy a rock to see if he can, beat Kobe. But it's like, this is a guy who coming out of the half had 43 points, and that's great. And like, he shot terrible in the second half, which means he had to shoot more in the second half than the first. So they were just force feeding him the ball. He wasn't playing all that great in the second half. Again, his overall average for the night wasn't terrible, but his second half was 37%. That's not good. I said earlier that sub 50 is fine. Sub 38, 37 is not. So props to him. Not trying to knock it. Still an achievement, but yeah. And the reason I say allegedly, for those who don't know, Wilt Chamberlain's game is not on tape. So that's why some say allegedly. They say he didn't really score the 100 points because there's no video evidence of it. I'm not saying that's the case. Obviously, it's doable. Just saying that's why I say he's allegedly second on the list, because it is possible he's first.
Yeah. I mean, it is possible that we never landed on the moon. We could,
No.
So
there's lots of video. There's so much. Don't even get me started.
I mean, some people, this is the same league that has the most amount of flat Earth believers. So, maybe
I have a friend who genuinely believes we did not land on the moon. If you're listening to this, I'm sorry, man, but you're wrong. He always sends me memes and stuff about it, and it's infuriating. Also, you mentioned flat Earth believers. Do we really have one in this league?
No. I'm talking about the NBA.
Oh, gotcha.
The NBA
Yeah.
has like a lot of flat earthers. I don't know why. I don't know. And that might be a fake statement. I just didn't remember. It was like athletes believing in it. I want to say like at one point Kyrie Irving might have been one of them. I don't know. It's just like, whatever. If it wasn't you, Kyrie, I apologize. If you ever listen.
It was Kyrie. You were right on the head. All right, let's move to football then, if it's cool with you. We got a lot of football to talk about. Unless you got more BAM stuff going on.
Speaking of drama, can't wait.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of free agency stuff going on, but we got to talk about one of the biggest things, especially as it affects Vinny and I, as we are Raider fans. We're going to talk about Max Crosby. 4 days ago, the Ravens and the Raiders agreed to a trade, sending our best player, Max Crosby, locker room guy, great defensive end, sending him to the Ravens for not one, but 2 first-round picks, joining a short list of absolute juggernaut legends of the game who've been traded for 2 first-rounders. Guys like Matthew Stafford, Super Bowl winner, Eric Dickerson, 2,000-yard rusher, and, of course, Jay Cutler. So, after the trade's made, there's always a stipulation in every trade that it's pending a physical. Now, that has almost always been historically just there, like, as a, not a precaution, but as a, what's the word I'm looking for? Then, like, just a symbolic gesture type situation. It's not real, right? You know about their health before you make these deals. The only time it actually ever came up was there was a trade a few years ago where a player was found to have a brain tumor when he went in for his physical, and that actually ended up saving his life, which is awesome, by the way. But, like, outside of a rare situation like that, never happens. Well, Max goes in for his physical, and the Ravens all of a sudden decide, oh, no, he didn't pass. Well, why didn't he pass? Oh, because his knee hurts. Well, Max had knee surgery 8 weeks ago. According to his surgeon, he is on track to recover at a normal pace. Everything's looking good. Surgery went well. And the Ravens knew about this surgery along with the rest of the world that it happened. So it wasn't like this was news to them. Sounds like they just got cold feet. And what do you know? The day after they back out of the Max Crosby deal, who did the Ravens sign? The other big-name free agent at that position, Trey Hendrickson, who they were able to sign, pay less money than Max, and not give up draft picks for. So my question to you, Vinny, was this the Ravens baiting the Raiders the whole time while working with Trey? While working with Trey and trying to see if they could get Trey's number down, because they're like, well, we have this other guy, we don't want you anymore. Or is this something where they realized Trey was an option last minute after realizing, hey, we're losing hard in free agency, which I'll go over in a minute, and so they pivoted and decided to back out of the deal and keep their picks because they're losing so hard in free agency? Your thoughts?
I don't think one of those options is better than the other. I think both of them are a terrible look for the Ravens. I am highly convinced they made that trade, were excited about the trade, realized that Trey Hendrickson's asking price wasn't that high, and had buyer's remorse, and then backed out of the trade. I think they just used the physical as an excuse. I think, I do think they were losing free agency. I think the whole thing, what's going to piss me off even more, and I haven't seen any reports, it's all hypothetical at this point, is if they now use that money they freed up to also re-sign Linderbaum, try and keep their guy. I've seen multiple things that, like, GMs in the NFL are now, like, won't deal with the Ravens because this is such a shady thing that they pulled. It's a bad look. Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad that I was very 50-50 on the whole Max thing either. I get both sides. I was like, I don't have an opinion either way. I would love to have him as a Raider fan. He's my favorite Raider. He's the best Raider. Might be the best Raider we've had in a very, very long time. But I also understand trading him away, freeing up his cap space, getting the draft picks, just because we are not a Max Crosby away from competing.
Yeah, I look, at the GM side of me, I understood that this is a guy that paying him a ton of money isn't going to help us win in the, compete and win. Not that it doesn't help us win games. It doesn't help us compete and win. We saw with him as the only good player on our team, we won 3 games, right? That being said, he's a massive locker room guy, and he's the kind of guy that if you take care of, you show free agents and players that you do take care of your guys, which, to be fair, the Raiders do have a pretty good reputation for taking care of their guys. But also just as a fan, like you said, he's not just the best Raider we've had in a long time. He is the Raider. When you think of the Raiders, you think of Max Crosby. In fact, most people can't name other Raiders because there's none good enough to be fantasy relevant to name. So, and he's not a fantasy player either. He's a defensive player, but still. So, yeah, obviously I wanted to have him, but obviously I don't want to get bamboozled like this because what happened was we thought we freed up all this cap space. We went out and spent a lot of money, and now our free cap space went from like 60 million in free cap down to like 35 million in free cap. But look, it's still a lot, but like not as much as we thought we were going to have. And I mentioned that I thought the Ravens may have backed out because of their losses in free agency. What I mean by that, Isaiah Likely, their tight end, has gone to the Giants to reunite with Harbaugh. Ricard, their fullback, has gone to the Giants to reunite with Harbaugh. Their center, Linderbaum, went to the Raiders. So they've lost 3 key pieces on their offense. So it's like if they thought, hey, our offense is great, our defense was struggling last year, let's improve defensively and be a competitor. Now we're losing a lot of our key pieces on offense. We haven't been able to... They lost more guys than that, too. Those are just kind of the big 3. They haven't really made any splashy big moves in free agency other than this trade. And it's like, maybe we want those 2 first-rounders back and pick up a defensive end that might not be as good as Max, which is debatable, right? Because Hendrickson was the number 1 guy 2 years in a row in sacks prior to this. Pick up someone at a discount and get those picks back. I kind of feel like... I just don't know if they were stringing us along the whole time or if they just realized they were losing so hard that they decided to backtrack. I think it's the latter. Because like you said, I think they get such a bad rep for backing out. I don't think that was their plan from the start. I think once they saw how free agency was going, they decided to pivot.
It's such a bad look that it almost makes you wonder if this whole legal tampering period should even be a thing. It's kind of weird that you can unofficially start free agency, not sign anybody, and then back out if you get a better offer, or you know what I mean? Like the whole thing is like, what is the point? I don't understand it. I don't understand why we have this like legal tampering. Let's just start free agency, and when you sign a player, you officially sign him. You trade for a player, you officially trade for him, and you lock it in. You know, so I don't know. I understand the physical's different. You know, a formality. It's a formality.
That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Yeah, and look, it'd be different if they go to have the physical and it's like, oh, Max is actually 3 weeks behind on his recovery, or Max is still having pain when it should have been gone by now. Like that might have been a concern. It would have been a concern for the Raiders too, right? But that wasn't the case. It was, hey, this guy's 8 weeks removed from surgery. He's on track. Everything's good to go. He literally got off crutches last week. And it's like, I don't know, this guy has kind of a bum knee. It's like, yeah, he got off crutches last week. Everyone knew that.
Now,
that's
there
normal.
are reports out there that the same expert that the Cowboys used found something on the physical that caused some pause and concern. And that's why the Cowboys backed out of the Max Crosby sweepstakes. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but the whole thing is extremely fishy regardless of what you like. He's not unhealthy. And then, wait, the thing that's crazy to me is you now give all this money to an older version of Max. Trey Henderson is older. He's more injury prone than Max Crosby. Trey Henderson has missed multiple games.
He missed more games last season than Crosby did.
You can argue even that, you know, Crosby wanted to play last year. Like, the Raiders shoved him down.
Yeah, he would have played through the injury.
Thing about the entire rift. Like, that's why we had to trade Max Crosby, because of shutting him down. So you trade for a guy who is an injury-prone defensive end who's older, not as good, in my opinion. So I don't understand even the backup plan. I'm like, well, I hope this one really works out for you.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. And now it's back in the Raiders' court. Now once again, it's like, do we trade him or do we keep him now? Because, I mean, that obviously changes a lot of things. And if we're going to trade him, you know, because now we know what the bar was, right? So, like, anything, as a Raider GM and as a Raider fan, anything less than 2 first-round picks feels like a loss, right? Like, if we're like, yeah, we're now trading him for, you know, a first, a second, and a third, it's like, well, that's not as good. You know what I mean? Like, so I just...
Well, especially the 14th overall pick being included in that. Like, the Ravens actually had a down year for the Ravens, so it's like a mid-round pick versus, you know, trading the Rams keep trading their first-round picks, so they're always drafting 30th.
Yeah. But yeah, so we'll see. So that's that's obviously the big one. You know, the Raiders came out and basically said we have no comment at this time. I don't know if they've commented since then, but they obviously weren't happy about it. But yeah, that's what's been going on. So Yeah, I mean, now the Ravens got their guy, and we'll see what else they do, because they did lose quite a few pieces on offense. So they did those draft picks, I guess, and we'll see what the Raiders decide to do with Max. Raiders have been making a ton of moves. You and I have talked about it a lot in our chat. Some we're happy with, others I am not a huge fan of. But you seem pretty excited, so why don't you take it from here and go over what you're excited about as a Raider fan.
Yeah, I mean, I know like the one that you're.
Yeah, and I'll address that one. You don't have to talk about that one unless you want to.
So no, we had a ton of cap space. You're always interested to see what we're gonna do. I know that we're eating a lot of Geno Smith's salary, but the fact that we were even able to bump one pick up for a guy that we were just going to release anyways, or one round up, happy that we were able to dump him. But just logging on and seeing, we have huge offensive line issues, which none of us are really quite sure about. If you're a Raider fan, you don't really understand what's wrong with our interior line, because we had 3 guys who were highly rated, and then all of a sudden Pete Carroll came in and our interior offensive line was like hot garbage. So then we sign the highest rated interior lineman in the free agency class, and Linderbaum, dude's just a perennial stud. Trade for a guy who was an all-pro corner 2 years ago from the Bills, and then somehow go out and sign the two of the better linebackers in the draft class, and Quay Walker and the Kobe Dean. Really just kind of bolstering the defense. I don't understand this whole Kwity Paye situation. The guy's not that highly rated. I guess he was good 2 years ago. Last year, not so good. I'm curious to see if the Raiders now renege on that contract now that they might have to keep Max. That would be, why keep, overpay this Kwity Paye guy. So I think there's been some really strong additions that, are good long-term piece builders. Really addressing some of the concerns on both offense and defense. And then, not really overpaying for one of these mid-market QBs that are kind of out there. Like, I think, Daniel Jones just signed for $44 million, which is wild. And then you've got
per year, just
for
clarity. That was a 2-year, $88 million year. It's 44 per year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, 44 per year, and then Malik Willis getting like $33 million a year. The guy's like started 7 games in his career, so.
And he's done it with the Packers, over the last 25 years, the Packers starter has been good, and that could be an organization thing, and not, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I just love what the Raiders are doing. I don't think they're having like the best. There's a lot of really good. Moves out there so far. Oh, and they had signed Matt Gay. We've had kicker problems forever, and we signed Matt Gay. Who, is old.
Don't say forever. Daniel Carlson was a stud for a long time.
Until the last couple of years, when he, like the rest of the team, got the shanks. So,
he's an Auburn guy. I'll always be for him.
And then, re-signed a couple big pieces, but it's just a move in the right direction. You and I have talked about this for a long time. Like, I am a firm believer that the Raiders are multiple pieces away from being competitive, which is why I don't mind trading Max Crosby.
There's a reason we have the number 1 overall pick.
Right. There's a very good reason. And, we've talked about even trading off of that pick. So
yeah, I think you and I would both like that.
But yeah, and then obviously there's the signing that you disagree with.
Yeah, so I'll go into that now. There's a lot of wide receiver free agents hitting the market, or if they're not free agents, people that are available, like they're being shopped around. And we'll talk about them later, but just to give some names: Mike Evans, Alec Pierce, Romeo Doubs, Wendell Robinson, Rashid Shaheed, DJ Moore, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, if you still believe in him. A lot of names. The name I didn't mention, and the reason I didn't mention it, even ESPN, when they put up their graphic of top 12 available wide receivers, this guy wasn't on there, Jalen Naylor. And if you're asking yourself, who is Jalen Naylor? Well, that's because he's like a 4-string wide receiver. Not anymore, because we gave him $35 million. I don't mind us signing a wide receiver, but we didn't want to pay. How much? Hold on. What is the contract here for Jacoby Myers? Like, let me take a look here. 1 second.
He's making $20 million a year.
Okay, so we didn't want to pay Jacoby $20 million a year, but we'll play this other guy $12.5, who is not even in the same league as Jacoby Myers. That's my issue. It's like, I'm not saying you needed to go find $8 million, but like, if you're willing to pay 12.5, then find a guy worth 12.5, right? Either fork up the money to get the $20 million guy, find a guy who's actually worth 12.5, or sign Jalen Naylor, but sign him for 5. Because there's no way you can tell me he's earned that contract with his play.
No, I don't understand. I will agree. Like, I'm not 100% sure why they paid him as much as they did. But I've read a lot of, like, people that are much smarter than I am. I've read a lot of good things that they say it's an underrated signing. I have read that. This is not like, even ESPN right now, this is an under-the-radar signing for Las Vegas, but a solid one nonetheless. So...
This guy has effectively played 2 seasons, right? Because his rookie year, he got no playing time. In his sophomore campaign, he was hurt the whole time. He's played 2 years, averages 20.5 catches, 430 yards.
Yeah,
and we're paying him wide receiver 1 money. Again, that's my gripe.
$12 million is not wide receiver 1 money.
Okay, what's the next highest paid wide receiver on the Raiders?
Oh, well... on the Raiders, yes.
We are paying him to be our wide receiver 1. Yes, I understand we're not paying him $20 million, but like we're fine. We're paying him wide receiver 2 money. These aren't wide receiver 2 numbers either.
Okay, I can see that. I am curious, like on a per year basis. Where's Mitch when you need him? Mitch is always
this is Mitch's department.
But so we're giving him 12.
That's my big gripe.
I will say that Jalen Naylor is now making the same amount of money as, well, a lot of these guys are rookies, so it's kind of hard to really compare. But Darius Slayton, Rashad Bateman, Khalil Shakir, Mike Evans, Cooper Kupp, those are kind of like if you go up the list, the next couple that are available. So,
I mean, let me put it this way: Jamison Williams got $1 million per catch, right? This guy's getting $500,000 per catch. That's what we paid him for. $35 million. He's got 69 career catches. He's getting paid over $500,000 per catch.
Well, at least we're getting a discount.
Yeah, I mean, compared to Jamison Williams, but also counterpoint, I'd rather have Jamison Williams. So,
I mean, the Titans gave Wan'Dale Robinson $17.5 million.
Yeah, but do I need to pull up his catches though? Like,
oh, he's a catch monster.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I was going to try to type that in, then I realized I'm trying to spell Wan'Dale.
Yeah. No, he is a catch monster. I'll give him that.
Dang it. Didn't like W-A-N? Yeah, W-A-N. I was right. With the apostrophe, I got there.
Yeah, that hidden apostrophe.
Yeah, so Wan'Dale Robinson has more catches in the last 2 seasons alone than Naylor has in his career. Like, each individual season. So, not quite the same ballpark. I think I don't know that he's worth 17.5, but he's definitely worth more than, he also had to play in New York. Look at what he did the first year he had a quarterback.
Look at this. I think it's 93, 140, 92, 140 is crazy. Especially when you think, wow, he had the same exact catches on the same exact amount of targets and 300 more yards receiving. Like, what?
Because he had a quarterback.
More yards receiving.
Yeah. Well, 2 things. 1, he had a quarterback. 2, he didn't have a star wide receiver 1 opposite him because the Neighbors was out all year.
Yeah, but yeah, I understand the Naylor, not the best. We need to figure out who's going to be our wide receiver 1. That'll be an interesting kind of like, well, what's going to happen? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Not to backtrack. Not to backtrack on you here, but Mitch just texted in, quote, "All I can think about in the back of my head is Tom Brady announcing a nationally televised football game that involves the Ravens coming up." For those who don't know, known cheater Tom Brady is a part owner of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Interesting.
And allegedly is involved in our free agency.
Allegedly.
Yeah, I'm giving a pretty big allegedly to that one.
Yeah, he's. I'm pretty sure he's running that team.
Anyway.
At this point.
Yeah, so let's talk wide receivers. A lot of wide receivers on the move, as I mentioned. So, Wan'Dale, you just saw. He is going to the Titans, joining that squad. Other wide receivers on the move, you got Mike Evans going to San Francisco 49ers to be their wide receiver 1 because Juwan Jennings is a free agent. Brandon Ayuk is no longer going to be part of the team. And Ricky Paracel just can't stay healthy. One moment he's shot, the next he's sick or injured, and who knows what's going to happen next. Romeo Doubs goes to New England, and a few more. A lot of moves in the wide receiver area. I'm going to miss seeing that Guardian cap on the Green Bay team for sure.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
What in your mind is the most impactful free agent wide receiver move, and which one do you think makes the least sense? So I guess most sense, least sense situation of all the guys. I mean, obviously you've heard my least sense one. What do you think is the most sense one for you?
I mean, I think the most sense is the easy, low-hanging fruit is obviously Mike Evans.
Yeah.
I think going to a place that likes to throw I just think he's going to feast in San Francisco as long as the substation doesn't just
I was
literally
say
disintegrate Mike Evans. As long as that.
The one counterpoint is that you're taking a historically injured over the past few years player and putting him on the most injured team in football.
Yeah, there's no way that this ends well. I mean, no, I'm not going to sit here and say that I 100% believe that conspiracy theory, but the correlation is pretty uncanny. Yeah. And you literally get the most injured wide receiver in recent memory. The flip side, I mean, obviously it's not free agency, but I think DJ Moore also going to Buffalo is a competitor for the one that makes the most sense on the wide receiver front. The one that makes the least sense for me, Michael Pittman to the Steelers. I think he's good. Michael Pittman's a dog. I like him. I think he's a super underrated wide receiver. We all know that I thought Michael Pittman was going to be wide receiver 1 when they signed Matt Ryan, so you guys get it. But
I'm not going to give you flack for that because I too was in on Pittman.
Who is throwing the ball to Michael Pittman next year? And you already have DK Metcalf. It's one of those. It's to me, it's I don't think Max Crosby's the missing piece in Las Vegas to win. A wide receiver 2 is 1,000% not the missing piece for the Steelers to be a competitive football team.
Yeah, you know who makes a play for a wide receiver 2? It's like a team that's great on defense and okay on offense, and they make that play for the wide receiver 2 to be a contender. But yeah, the Steelers making a play for the wide receiver 2 doesn't make any sense, especially when they don't even know who their quarterback's going to be. We're going into a weak quarterback draft class, a relatively weak quarterback free agency, where most of them have already signed, and the 2 that haven't signed yet, one of them is pretty much a lock to go to Minnesota. So, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, I agree with you. That one is a little weird to me. The DJ Moore one, you weren't here, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because we talked about it already, but you weren't here. Are you a guy who's going to be in on DJ Moore? I think Chris, Mitch, and I were all guys who were kind of in the camp of we haven't seen Josh Allen make a guy a 1 since Stephon Diggs, so we don't want to do that. But DJ Moore is a guy who has been a 1 in the past, and his numbers have gone down the last couple years, but that was with Caleb Williams. Do you think there's opportunity there? Is that a guy you're going to be in on this upcoming season?
Oh, I've always loved DJ Moore. I liked him in Carolina. I think he's super talented. I don't like him from a fantasy perspective, but that had never had anything to do with DJ Moore. Had everything to do with the Bears. Yeah. Bears are just an abysmal franchise. I don't care that they made the playoffs and almost advanced. They are just a terrible sports franchise who somehow got lucky like the Raiders did when they made their random playoff runs. DJ Moore in Buffalo, maybe he's old and washed. I just don't see it. I think he's literally Stephon Diggs 2.0. And if you're going to sit here and tell me that Diggs was, top 5 wide receiver in fantasy for 3 years in a row and you're out on DJ Moore, you're crazy.
Yeah, but how many times they will get a wide receiver first round draft pick Keon Coleman or trading for Amari Cooper and they just don't do it.
But Amari was already washed. Keon Coleman, when they drafted, only because I played, we talked about dynasty football. I I do so much research on these rookies, and I have a couple people that I really trust in their opinions on how they grade rookies. Everybody that I read going into that was like, Keon Coleman just doesn't make sense as a first round draft pick. He's going to get drafted way too high. He's super overrated. They draft him in the first round, which surprised me. I was out on him, didn't want him, never wanted to touch him. I don't think he is not a DJ Moore. Josh Allen needs a separator. Josh Allen doesn't need a tall, slow guy running down the field. So DJ Moore is a separator yak monster, and that's exactly what thrives with Josh Allen.
Yeah, I think the analysis I gave on the pod last week was he is either going to be a guy that no one is willing to bet on, so you get great value and he really overperforms, or he's going to be a guy that someone reaches for and he doesn't live up to the hype. I don't think there's a world where he is properly rated, gets drafted, and it plays where you expect him to be. I think you either draft him as a wide receiver 2 and he ends up being a borderline wide receiver 1, or you draft him as a borderline wide receiver 1 and he ends up being a wide receiver 3. I don't see a middle ground where it's like, I think he's going to be the 16th best wide receiver and I'm going to draft him accordingly. I just don't think it's going to happen. I mean, it could be wrong. That's my thoughts on it. Because it can go either way. I can see both sides of it. I don't think I'm in on him, at least as of right now, but I can absolutely see the scenario that you're describing where I should have been.
Yeah. Now, on the flip side, the Bears become extremely intriguing because they only have, 2 wide receivers left, both of which are young and up and coming. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Can we talk about like
start?
Do you have another point? Because I'm like scrolling through just to make sure I don't miss any free agency stuff and like, who went where?
Just one more wide receiver. I was going to bring up Alec Pierce. He got a bag. I mean, Alec Pierce
huge bag.
Got a monster contract to stay in Indianapolis after they gave a monster contract to Danny Dimes on the franchise tag. So if you're a guy like me who has Alec Pierce in Dynasty, you're pretty happy. Because when a team invests $44 million in their quarterback for this season and $20-something million in their wide receiver for this season, you're like, yeah, I want that guy. So
let me ask this. If you're a guy like Jonathan Taylor who sat out 2 years ago and is arguably the best running back in the league, if not top 3 best running back in the league, and you watch Alec Pierce sign for what, almost $30 million a year with $60 million in guarantees, are you not just like pissed that you decided to become a running back in your career? Like, you ever at a point in your career and you're like, damn, like I wish I would have become a doctor or a lawyer. Like, I did just as much school. I wish I could have done X, Y, Z. Do you think Jonathan Taylor's like, I worked just as hard as all these dudes and I get hit 30 times a game. I am the best player on this team, and you are giving Alec Pierce $30 million.
Yeah, especially when you look at Alec Pierce's stat. Like, again, and I will say, I do think Alec Pierce is a good player. I think there were a lot of mouths to feed. Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, Alex Pierce, Tyler Warren, Jonathan Taylor. Like, there's a lot of mouths to feed in that offense, so that's part of the reason. But this is a guy whose first ever 1,000-yard season was this year, and it was 1,003. It wasn't like it was 1,800. You know what I mean? Okay, that's a little high, but it was like 1,400. He finally broke 1,000 yards for the first time. He's never had 50 catches in a season, and he's getting money that you give to a guy that has 100 catches and 1,400 yards and 10 TDs.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, Daniel Jones flipping 6 good games into a 2-year, $88 million deal might be crazy.
I was about to say, so. But yeah, the Colts are, I think, the Colts are playing with fire. Because they are hoping that Danny Dimes having that half a season that he played so well is going to continue. And they're hoping that what they saw with the chemistry between him and Alec Pierce will continue to thrive moving forward. Because if not, if Alec Pierce goes out there and goes back to being a 40-catch, 800-yard receiver, which is fine for your wide receiver 2, that is not what you're paying him to be. And if Danny Dimes goes back to be anything like he was in New York, you're going to have a bad time.
Wait, am I reading this correctly? Did Alec Pierce have 47 catches?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 47 grabs on 1,000 yards. He's never broke 50.
I
First time over 1,000 yards.
I don't.
He led the league.
Really don't even.
He led the league in like average yard per catch. But it's like, because he only caught 47 balls.
Yeah, this is a hard one to figure out.
Anyway, you said there was some stuff you want to talk about. I had to bring up Alec Pierce because of this. So.
Yeah, I was just kind of looking at off seasons, and I remember, in other formats where the players that you have, and you don't think about redraft. There's been a lot of rumors for the New York Jets either trying to target Jalen Waddle, trying to target Brian Thomas Jr., and there's been reports the Giants and the Jets are going to strongly pursue Brian Thomas Jr. if he's available. Is there an offseason that makes less sense than the Jets trading for Geno Smith, paying Breece Hall on a franchise tag $15 million a year, and then also trading for Minkah Fitzpatrick and giving him $13-14 million? I mean, what are the Jets doing? What is their mindset right now? They're we're a Geno Smith, a Breece Hall, and a Brian Thomas Jr. away from being good? What? I think you want Brian Thomas Jr. and Garrett Wilson, and you want Geno Smith to throw to him, and you're going to give Breece Hall $15 million a year? I just am so confused. They are literally the New York Giants. That's all they are. They're the Giants. They're going to pay their running back a lot of money. They're going to have a good wide receiver, nobody to throw to him, and it is what it is.
See, my theory, not based on any sources, just what I think, their GM's we're not going to win any games, so how do we sell tickets? So they're going out and getting names. Geno Smith is the redemption guy. Hey, we drafted him. If he comes back and looks good, it looks good because we drafted him. Maybe he can pass. We'll bring in BTJ. That's a big name. Bring in Minkah Fitzpatrick. That's a good name. Which, by the way, how awful is his career path? Going from Pittsburgh to Miami to Jets. It just keeps getting worse for him. I feel like the next time he gets moved, we're gonna hear that he is now playing in the CFL. That's how far down he's. Every time he moves teams, it gets so much worse for this guy. Anyway, but yeah, I think
didn't the Dolphins give up a first round draft pick for him, or they gave up a super high draft pick to acquire him, and they sold him for a 7th round a couple of years later.
Yeah. That happens a lot with corners though. People always value corners so highly, and they're important, but then you pay through the nose for them, and then 3 years later, not that they're washed, but they're just average guys again because the corners don't hold up as well as the wide receivers do.
Yeah, they really don't. They literally have 2 or 3 good years. I mean, the Chiefs are already moving on from their top corners.
Both of them, yeah.
In
the Chiefs let
consecutive years. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, that to me is just kind of a wild off season. Yeah, I guess your point to sell tickets kind of makes sense. And then the Saints going out and signing Travis Etienne. I'm all right, you guys are, well, I don't know. Maybe the NFC South is such a dumpster fire. We just need to be.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think they can compete. The Falcons, their Falcons defense is good, but their offense won't be good until they find a quarterback. And by the way, speaking of quarterbacks moving, they signed Tua Tagovailoa, so they now have 2 left-handed quarterbacks. And it's neither of these 2 guys can stay healthy. I don't know who their third string is, but he should start warming up now. So they have 2 injury-prone quarterbacks that don't play well, so the Falcons may struggle. The Buccaneers took a step back last season, and on top of that have now lost Mike Evans. And then you take a look at the final team in that division is the Panthers. The Panthers took a step forward last year, and they may continue that, but part of that step forward was a ridiculous run that Rico Dowdle went on where he was just the best running back in football for 6 weeks. He's not even on the team anymore, so there's a world where they fall back down to earth. So I don't think it's as bad as the Saints were. I think because of how weak that division is, keep in mind a 9-8 team won the division, right? So there's a world where they can compete, and if you're hey, we just need a running back, because remember going into the season, Mitch was talking about he wanted the Saints running back that wasn't Kamara. Whoever it is, he thinks Kellen Moore is going to feed that guy and make that guy great. Well, look, I don't know that Etienne's going to be great, but if Kellen Moore decided that's the guy I want in this offense, that might be somebody worth targeting.
Yeah, I mean, Mitch can just have my, there's a term for it. But I was all in on Etienne, and now he's going to be on Etienne because he likes Kellen Moore. So, is what it is.
Yeah, and since we're talking about running backs, the other running back move, a couple. Aaron Jones just re-signed with the Vikes, so he'll be a Viking again. But the other running back move was, how did I already forget? There was one more.
Kenneth Walker.
Oh, yeah. Well, that one already happened. We talked about that one. I thought there was one more. Kenneth Gainwell went to the Bucks.
To the Bucks, yes.
Because Rashard White is a free agent, so he's probably going to be the RB2 there for the Bucks. Either that or he'll be RB3 and split with Sean. Man, my mind's going blank.
Tucker.
Thank you, Sean Tucker. But yeah, that's another one. But yeah, I mean, obviously the bigger one is Etienne as far as like who's going to be like a starter. So the question now is like what happens because Kamara's still on the roster, right? They didn't trade him. He's not a free agent.
I do think that he. I actually don't know. I've just. Is he a free agent?
I'm pretty sure he's under contract. Yeah, through this season. So.
Oh well.
Including $19 million in guarantee. Well, no, that's part of the whole deal. But yeah, he's still under contract through the end of this year. His base salary after the restructure is going to be $11.5 million this year.
So they're theoretically paying at least $25 million for their top two. They've got to either restructure him, cut him, or trade him at this point.
Unless they're trying to recreate their magic of the two-headed monster they had with Mark Ingram back in the day, where Ingram was the bruiser and Kamara was the pass catcher. Maybe they're trying to find that magic again with Etienne being not that Etienne's a bruiser, but just saying he'll be the runner and Kamara will be the pass catcher.
I just don't know. If you can pay running backs $26 million and try to compete. That's just a really. I mean, even the Lions can't do it. I mean, I 1,000% guarantee the only reason the Lions moved off to David Montgomery isn't because he's unhappy. It's because they know they have to pay Gibbs.
That's the other one. David Montgomery is now a Texan.
He's going to get a fat contract, and now David Montgomery is. They're not going to pay $30 million for their backfield.
That was a strange move to me because it kind of. I mean, like obviously Joe Mixon's probably not coming back, but it felt like Woody Marks had kind of won the made it his backfield, right? So it's strange to me that they decided, no, Woody Marks, it's not your backfield, actually.
Yeah, I just don't know if he's a guy that can tote it on first and second down the entire game, They need to give C.J. Stroud as much help as possible, and I think, like, a ground and pound run game does that. Right. I think Montgomery is going to feast in Houston as long as they have an offensive line, but that's a big if because their offensive line is trash. So... It's kind of the argument that we were all talking about with Kenneth Walker, and everybody's obviously high on him with Andy Reid, but they're not a good football team. Their offensive line is not that good either. Like it's gone downhill recently. So this is sometimes giving big money to running backs without an offensive line. Look at what happened to Saquon Barkley when he was in New York. Look at what happened to Saquon when he was in Philadelphia. They got to have a solid offensive line to be successful. Doesn't matter how much money you give them. Why do you think Jonathan Taylor is so good? Because he has a great offensive line every year. All he has to do is stay healthy.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Now let's... go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say let's move to the quarterback position. Obviously, that's a big one. So the moves we've already seen, as I mentioned, Tua goes to the Falcons. So let's start there. What do you think of that? Do you think Tua is going to win that job? Or do you think, I've heard a theory that they wanted another left-handed quarterback so that when one of them gets hurt, the other one can slot into the scheme easier? Or do you think it's still going to be Penix's job and Tua's being brought in as the most expensive backup now that Kirk Cousins is no longer the most expensive backup? They just want to keep that trend going.
Yeah, I don't think there's a world where they're already giving up on Penix. I think the lefty-to-lefty thing is a bigger deal than people give it credit for. Now, these guys are professionals but the ball does come in a lot different from a lefty than it does from a righty.
Well, and also just the way you build your
think-
line, right? Like your most important position is your left tackle, like on the offensive line, to protect
Your blind side, yeah.
protect your blind side. Well, for that team and that team only, the right tackle is more important because that's where their blind side is. So, like, if you invest in the right tackle more than the left tackle, and then your quarterback switches sides that he faces, that can be a problem.
Yeah. Super valid point. So I think it has a lot to do with the team build than anything else. So like, oh, Tua's available. Yeah, there's like reports like, oh, Tua will compete for the starting job, and that's just what they have to say because that's what they probably told Tua to get him to sign there. So
Yeah, well, and you can't justify paying that much money for a quarterback and not have him be competing for the job.
yeah, but I mean, it's just unfortunately for the Falcons, each quarterback is like one sack away from either losing their knee or losing their head. So
Yeah.
it's I don't really understand it, but that's okay. It's not my job to understand. I don't understand the Falcons offseason either. That's a weird one to me. I didn't understand firing their coach. I thought they were actually doing okay and had a pretty good system in place. So, I mean, their offensive coordinator at least.
Yeah, I mean, you have one of the better defenses in the league when you're a defensive-minded coach. Your team goes 9-8, which is tied for the division lead, and you did all that while having your quarterback injured and miss half the season.
Yeah, and then they got their staff. Yeah, it was just a weird. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's a very well ran franchise right now either. I mean, everybody was confused why they even took Penix at 8 overall when you just gave Cousins all that money. So, if you want to talk about weird decisions, they've had like 3 years in a row of them at this point.
Look, the Saints want to give all their money to running backs. The Falcons want to give it all to quarterbacks. All right, speaking of quarterbacks who got a bag, Malik Willis, like you said, only started a handful of games, is now a starter. What do you think of Malik Willis? Do you think he has, kind of what it takes to be the guy? Do you think that with him there's going to be value again in guys like Waddle, who I had mentioned last week on the pod that I was kind of out on Waddle just because Tua's not going to be there?
No. There is no way that Malik Willis boosts Jalen Waddle's fantasy production or value even a little bit.
Well, no, I'm not saying boost it. I'm saying because I was saying I was just completely out, not considering drafting him at all without Tua. I'm saying does this put him back in wide receiver 2 category?
No. I think that giving Malik Willis almost $33 million a year is wild. I know that he has games where he does really well, but if there's one thing about the Packers, they don't necessarily have anything great, but everything on their offense is really good. They have a good offensive line, good running back, a crazy deep wide receiver core without having a true number one, but they have 5 solid number 2 wide receivers, a really good coach, from an offensive standpoint, and then you go to Miami. So, and this is also a guy who had to transfer out of Auburn to then go to Liberty to then be a backup quarterback in the NFL, and now he's getting $33 million. I don't get it. I actually don't get the market that he even had. So
I think it just comes down to
good luck to him.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to there are a lot of teams that need a quarterback, and this is a really weak quarterback market. So we kind of talked about the guys who were actually available were, to start this whole thing was kind of Malik Willis and then guys that we assumed would be cut, right? Because a lot of these other guys that ended up being free agent quarterbacks were guys that we had to assume be cut. Because, technically Daniel Jones, right? But everyone kind of assumed that he was going to be franchise tagged, and he was. So then the only other people out there were going to be Tua if he's cut, and then Kirk Cousins and Kyler Murray if they're cut, which obviously that is happening, but having to cross your fingers and hope those guys are cut, and then even then, you're not jumping at the bit necessarily to sign Cousins after the last 2 years he's had. The Cardinals don't even want Kyler Murray, and they're not exactly in a great place right now. But Yeah, obviously it looks like a lot of reports are saying Kyler to the Vikings is kind of a lock to compete with J.J. McCarthy, and I don't see how you lose that competition if you're anyone who's breathing. So, A, do you think that is the case, that he will in fact go to Minnesota? And B, where do you think Kirk Cousins goes in that case?
Yeah, I think Kyle. I mean, if I was in the quarterback market, if we're giving Malik Willis $33 million a year, how much money are we giving Kyler? Right, and that's the thing that I'm trying to figure out, because Kyler should be at least getting that. I know he's not going to, but he should.
I mean, keep in mind, the Vikings is a team that is sitting there thinking, if we had just given Darnold $30 million.
Oh no, Kevin O'Connell will do wonders with whatever quarterback he gets.
I mean, that's what everyone said last year, and look how bad J.J. McCarthy was.
Okay, do not say everybody. You and I were out on all Vikings players.
That's true.
So we knew. That's, if there's one thing that you win some, you lose some. JJ, I mean, it's like, what did he averaged like 195 yards passing in college, and like had like average completion percentage. Like, he just wasn't a good passer. Like, nobody understood why he was so high. He's like, oh, he had all the tools. Well, the Raiders draft guys that have all the tools every single year, but they're not good at football. That's just what the Raiders do. They're like, we draft the athletes, and then they suck. But I think we're just maybe used to it. But Kyler Murray is good at football. I think you and I would both want him on the Raiders as a gap quarterback. So
yeah.
Kirk Cousins may be washed.
Yeah, he may. Well, and also the problem with Kirk Cousins is he needs an offensive line, because he can't run the way a guy like Kyler or even Malik Willis can. And teams with a good offensive line generally aren't in the market for a quarterback, because good quarterbacks already want to play there.
Right. Yeah. So I don't even know what Cousins' market is at this point, actually. Although if Geno Smith can be the starting quarterback for the Jets, Cousins can play somewhere. Who even still needs a quarterback?
The Raiders need a quarterback. Cardinals need a quarterback. I mean, I guess they did name Jacoby as their starter. So I would say Browns, but they're not going to agree with that statement.
Steelers
definitely need a quarterback.
I mean, yeah, there's not very many teams in the league that are quarterback hungry right now. So that's kind of hard to even predict at this point. Like,
yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah. So Vikings, Steelers, teams that are legitimately looking are going to be Vikings, Steelers, Raiders, Cardinals. So I'd say there's four teams.
The Cardinals already named their starter.
Sorry, I keep saying Cardinals because they let Kyler go. But yeah, you're right. So yeah, I'd say there's three teams legitimately looking for a quarterback.
The Raiders, Steelers, and
Steelers, and
Vikings.
The Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the Raiders bringing in Cousins if we draft Mendoza. That would make sense. But to throw to Jalen Naylor is wild.
I mean, hey, that was his target back in the day. His third string target. Oh, yeah. Man.
I guess you could still say the Jets are a quarterback needy. I just don't. Are the Jets out on Kyler? I haven't seen anything about them going for Kyler Murray. But you would imagine like Geno Smith is. Maybe they're just truly trying to tank.
I don't think you trade for Geno. I don't think you trade for Geno if you're in the quarterback market for other. You know,
they gotta be tanking for Archie Manning. It's the only logical solution.
Like the one thing that I will say before people want to hate on Geno led the league in passing 2 years ago, and last year he was a Raider. So maybe we don't put it all on him, right? He played for the Raiders, who had no offensive line, and was the worst team in football. And I realize he was a lot of that. He led the league in picks. Second in picks, I think, to Sam Darnold. But he did the year prior, when he had an even half-decent football team around him, throw for the most yards in football. Now, granted, the Jets are not a half-decent football team, but They're going to have better wide receiving talent than we did, especially if they get BTJ.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But here's the thing. I like Kyler. Do you think he's like the missing Super Bowl piece for a Vikings team that was really good with Sam Darnold? I just don't. I don't. I don't know. I don't think Kyler is really making your team good enough to be competitive. I mean, they're good enough to be competitive, but like really competitive, like Super Bowl contender competitive.
Maybe not, but I think when you have that, when you look around that roster and you're like, all right, we have a decent defense, we have a decent running game, we have a great set of wide receivers. When you look at like the overall things, they have, as you say, all the tools to win. They're just a quarterback away. And if the quarterback that you need to win it all is not there, you at least want to go get a quarterback that lets you have a fighting chance, because Kyler gives you that fighting chance, right? Like, it's not going to be pretty. It might be a struggle. But look, if they can get into the playoffs as a wild card, then anything can happen, right? There have been, it's rare, but it's happened. Like the Steelers won from the 6th spot, right? So he gives them a chance, whereas you look at J.J. McCarthy and you're like, there is no chance, and we're just wasting another year of this talented group of players if we run him out there again.
Yeah. I will say, I don't know if you saw this, my least favorite sports analyst, Ryan Clark, did say that he thinks the Ravens would be better with Kyler Murray than Lamar Jackson. So,
okay, I can see why he's your least favorite, because he has terrible takes.
Terrible takes. I think he's just filled with terrible takes. And maybe that's why he's so important. Or so,
Like, I get that Lamar had a down year,
well,
but we're talking about a 2-time league MVP, should be 3-time.
Yeah, Kyler, Lamar, that shouldn't even be a close debate.
Yeah. That is a wild take.
I mean, what about Kenny Pickett? I mean, going to the Panthers, or Mitch Trubisky going to the Titans, or those
yeah, shout out to Kenny Pickett, a real hustler. I put that meme in our chat. I think he is the first ever first round quarterback to play for 5 teams in 5 years, I think is what it was.
Yeah, 5 teams in 5 years. Yeah.
So really a hustler. Yeah.
I mean, just...
Oh, sorry, not just quarterback. No other first round pick ever has played for 5 teams in 5 years. So
there it is. It's 1 of 1. 1 of 1. Kenny Pickett.
Yep.
Oh God. Yeah, but hey, is what maybe. And what's with? I hear Mac Jones is the asking price is too high. There's rumors on that too.
Yeah, I mean, as a Mac Jones holder in in Dynasty, I was really hoping with all these teams needed a quarterback that he would be moved, right? Especially with this Pittman signing. Oh man, I would love it if the Steelers went out and got Mac Jones.
Be great.
That'd be great.
Now he is somebody that I think Kevin O'Connell would make a very good quarterback.
Yeah.
That was
my hope the whole time. Was like, all right, here we go. Vikings gonna pick up Mac Jones. That's what we need. And by we, I mean my Dynasty team. But alas, that does not appear to be what's... I mean, again, this is all speculation, right? But normally when all the insiders are kind of touting the same thing, it usually happens. So.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I mean, I know we can all agree, but I think free agency day 1 was one of the most impressive NFL free agencies of all time. And then, man, it has really died down, huh?
It has, but also it's like we're a lot more focused as well on fantasy relevant plays or players that relevant to our team. There's a lot of guys out there who are like decent quality players who are moving teams that just don't move the needle for us because they don't affect the primary scoreboard of fantasy football, right? So
yeah, true. I mean, like
right now, just going through the the top 10 list of like ESPN, it's like a lot of these guys are O linemen. Like Mitchell would probably know a bunch about him, but like we're not O lineman guys. We're not gonna talk about that. But like 3 of the top 10 guys I think are O linemen, but we're not talking about them because that's not like our wheelhouse.
Yeah. Also, shout out to the Buffalo Bills for having a model that definitely does not work, that they just continue to hammer in signing really old and injured defensive ends. They did it with Von Miller. They did it with Bosa. And they just signed Bradley Chubb. So I don't know why they want people that are like 3 years past their prime constantly. They think this like cheap rotation of older defensive ends is going to just really set them apart, and it just never does. And I just think it's probably the best thing, best like running trend in sports is what the Buffalo Bills are going to do at the defensive end position. That's just not going to work well.
Well, as they say, if at first you don't succeed, try again.
Yeah, that's what the Raiders do. Just with losing seasons.
It'll work one day. But yeah, I just scrolling through the list, one other one popped up. Rico Dowdle goes to the Steelers. Kind of strange to me that they let Kenneth Gainwell go when he played relatively well for them, and then brought in Dowdle. It's like, why not just keep the backup you had versus bringing in a new backup? I thought that was a strange deal, unless they're thinking that he's actually going to be the guy. But I think it's unlikely because he's going to be 28 going into the season.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't really understand. Maybe they just think Dowdle's a different skill set than Warren and Gainwell. You play somewhat similarly. But then again, the Cardinals signed Tyler Algier, and he's literally like another version of James Conner. So maybe teams are just trying to keep the same. I don't know. I thought Dowdle to the Steelers was also weird. Also just shows that they don't know how to draft running backs, because it sounds like they already gave up on Caleb Johnson. You lose a backup running back, and instead of promoting your rookie, you sign another backup running back.
Yeah, and it's like the backup running back you lost already knows your playbook and is a year younger.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a sneaky, great pickup by Tampa Bay, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, there are some teams that have some great moves offensively, and you're just worried about the quarterback. I think with both the Steelers and the Vikings, it's like, man, if they just had a QB, they'd be a contender. And then you mentioned the Bucks, it's like, yeah, Gainwell's a good pickup, but you got to do something at wide receiver. I feel like they did re-sign K-Dot in their tight end, but so maybe he's going to get a bigger workload.
Yeah, but then you do have a healthy Godwin, and oh my God, the fantasy person in me, just forgive me. I'm not. Yes, Egbuka. I did not forget that name. It just took me a while to get to it on my own. I did not have any assistance or help. But I don't think they're going to be. I think they're going to be fine at wide receiver. And let's be real, Mike Evans. You're like, are we really going to pay this guy $20 million a year to maybe play 10 games?
No, I mean, look, I get why they might let Evans walk. I just feel like with so many free agents out there, go get somebody to replace him. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I mean, we'll see.
I mean, or draft somebody to replace him.
Yeah, maybe someone's going to step up. Well, I mean, they drafted Ibuka, but it's like I said, my whole thing was I felt like Ibuka and Godwin filled the same role, and Evans was a different role. So it's like, yeah, now you have Ibuka and Godwin, but you don't have the Evans player.
Yeah. But now you also, true. Unless they feel like one of those, I don't know. I feel like they have a pretty deep wide receiver core of people that I don't know very well.
Yeah, or there's gonna be a bump in K-Dot in production. They're gonna use him more as a wide receiver than a blocker this year, and get him involved just to still have that big body out there running routes.
Okay, here's a fun fact that I would never have guessed in a million years. Prior to this season, what would you say was the least amount of games started in a season by Mike Evans? Prior to this year, I'll tell you what this year
14?
was. He played 8 games. He is known to have hamstring issues. What would you say the least amount of games that he played in a single season prior to this year was in his career?
My guess was 14.
So 13 in 2019, but 15, 14, 16, 15, 16, 13, 16, 16, 15, 17, 14.
Yeah, he misses on average about 3 weeks. Yeah.
There's a reason he's a 1,000-yard machine, is because, I mean, yeah, the guy misses a couple weeks a game. I mean, early in his career, when did we switch over to 17-game seasons? That wasn't that long ago. So he was only missing a game or two for the first few years of his career. And now, still a game or two. I just don't know why. I thought Mike Evans was the guy that was missing a guaranteed 4 or 5 games a year, and that is just not what happened. That's super impressive.
No, he's pretty reliable. Like he's one of those guys who was always going to be injured, but he doesn't miss a ton of time normally up until this year. But that's why it gets scary, right? Because it's like the most games he's ever missed in a season prior to this year was 3, and that was in 2024. And then this year he missed 9. So it's like his 2 seasons with the most, because even if you go back to 2019, that was a 16-game season, right? So like,
right,
that was another 3 games. So it's like these are the 2 seasons where he's missed the most games are the last 2 seasons he's played. And that's just
right.
That's a concern, right? Because it becomes a trend.
Yeah. Yeah, and now he's also trending in the wrong direction with the wrong team. So, who happen to love their soft tissue injuries in San Francisco. but yeah, no, interesting. I would not have guessed that. I mean, I guess you could probably correlate that to the fact that he had, his streak of 1,000-yard seasons, but I always thought he was just doing it on less games.
You know another Mike Evans fun fact? He's only ever had 1 season where he didn't record a tackle.
Is that right?
Yeah, that was in 2020. Every other season he's recorded at least 1 tackle. Gotta play D, bro. Gotta play D.
That's those Jameis Winston years.
Yeah, you'll notice his tackles were a lot higher in his early years than they have been lately.
Yeah, Baker, playmaker, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, the last 3 years with Baker, he's only made 5 tackles total. His second year, he had to make 5 tackles by himself.
Oh, man. I wonder, what year did Jameis Winston throw? Here, you keep that up. I'm going to look up what year Jameis Winston threw for 40 interceptions. And we will... Or was it 30 interceptions?
I think it was 30.
I think it was 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. Let's see. What year was that? That was it was 2019. How many tackles did Mike Evans have in 2019? Only 4. 4 in 13 games, though. 4.
Yeah, in 13 games.
He had to make so many tackles that he got hurt.
Yeah, he started having to practice with the defense to get ready for game day, and that got to him.
Yeah. Oh, man. Do you think they lined up all their wide receivers doing DB drills? Because they're,
Yeah, but they had to do it. They had to do it when James was watching film, so he didn't know.
Yeah, just wild. Sorry, I took that one off the rails a little bit.
No, that's right. We needed the Mitch effect. He wasn't here, so it's good that he got representation.
Yeah, he got some representation. He would enjoy the 30-30 club conversation with Mike Evans tackles for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's I do think the Gainwell, back to running backs is good. I mean, you got Montgomery. There's a lot of kind of movers and shakers. What do you think from a fantasy perspective? I guess a question that hasn't been asked. What do you think the number one signing so far, from a fantasy perspective is?
Like that's going to impact fantasy football the most?
Mm-hmm. And let's not include trades. So, Michael Pittman's out, DJ Moore's out. Just free agency signings.
Yeah, I mean, if we're just talking guys who got signed to free... And also, I'm assuming we don't want to consider people that signed with the same team. Because, like, Danny Dimes is probably the biggest one, right? Like, re-signing with the Colts.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Let's just do new teams.
Okay.
Who has the biggest impact on a new team?
Yeah, so we're talking biggest impact on a new team. Again, I think if he stays healthy, it's Mike Evans. I think that is one of the biggest name players on the move. That offense can be great, but they're always so hurt or missing. Debo was hurt and then he left. Ayuk was hurt and then they got rid of him. Juwan Jennings is hurt all the time. But Pearsall's been hurt every year he's played. Like, he has to stay healthy, but if he does give us another 15, 16 game season out of Mike Evans, and if Kittle's there too, so they have a 1-2 punch now to go with CMC, that offense can be stellar. So I think he can make a huge difference because let's face it, no one's lining up across from Juwan Jennings and worried about guarding him. There's a reason CMC's yards per tote were lowest this year than ever in his career, because it's weird to say they could stack the box, but they kind of could, because when Kittle was hurt, there was no threat of a pass.
Right.
Now there's a threat of a pass again. So I think Mike Evans, and yes, I'm a Mike Evans homer, but I still think my analysis here is actually sound. I think he has the biggest potential player to make an impact on a new team. With the caveat of depending on what Minnesota does at quarterback. Because if we come in here tomorrow and Minnesota has signed either Cousins or Kyler, assuming Cousins isn't completely washed, then, which I kind of think he is too, but like if he's not, like, then that can be a monster deal. So.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think the easy answer that everybody would expect is the $15 million running back that the Chiefs signed. I don't love it. I don't love, we talked about this via text, I don't love that sign. I mean, I just don't think he's the best fit for that offense. I've never been that high on Kenneth Walker, which is crazy to say after what he did in the Super Bowl. I don't know. It's just never been my favorite guy. I do think, though, Travis Etienne in New Orleans is a sneaky one that we all need to keep an eye out for. And I would be fascinated to see how the Arizona Cardinals use Tyler Algier. If Tyler Algier wins the RB1 position in Arizona and somehow James Conner is just washed and not himself, that's a sleeper running back that I'm probably going to target in a lot of leagues. I just don't think they have anybody else. And this is a guy who, when they gave him carries in Atlanta, was very good.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
I don't think he's the biggest. Etienne is my biggest one. Truthfully, I just think Kellen Moore's offense. I think they're just gonna feed him the rock, and I don't think their offense is as bad as everybody gives it credit for. But I think a sleeper signing that nobody's talking about is if Algier wins the RB1 job in Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's probably going to be someone that surprises us, but I just think that the obvious low-hanging fruit answer is one of the quarterbacks, right? Whether it is Malik Willis or Danny Dimes or Tua or whoever, if any of these actual quarterbacks actually do become decent, they don't need to be great. 25-10 guys, right? They throw for 3,800 yards, 25 TDs, and 10 picks. They're going to affect every other player on their roster as far as fantasy value goes.
Yeah, true. Actually, interesting to think. I never really thought about the Tua effect on Drake London. Like if Tua is actually halfway decent.
Yeah, like if you look at the games where Tua and Waddle played together, Waddle was a top-tier wide receiver.
And London is better than Waddle.
And they franchise tag Kyle Pitts, so they got that going for him. Yeah, and just to comment on your Kenneth Walker take is like, this is a guy who's never had more than 225 carries. I mean, realistically, he had 228. So he's never had 230 totes in a season. So you're either going to have to give him more carries, which a guy who's been injured every year except for last year, or you don't give him more carries, in which case he can't be that impactful during the regular season, but I think he can be a monster in the postseason. So I think from a fantasy standpoint, unless the Chiefs decide, hey, we're going to give this guy the ball 25 plus times a game, I think you're going to see much more of the same with Kenneth Walker, another 1,000-yard, 7 TD season, which is fine, but nothing that I'm stoked about.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're starting to glaze the Chiefs a little bit. Like, he's been in a pretty good situation in Seattle, and he's serviceable, but nobody's ever been thrilled to have him as their RB1. So I have a feeling he's going to be drafted as an RB1, and he's still going to be Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Wow.
All right, man. Well, that's kind of the stuff that I had to talk about this week. Do you have anything else you want to discuss or any free agent news that we didn't mention that you wanted to touch on?
No, actually. I think we covered quite a bit. It'll be interesting to see kind of where those last few domino pieces fall. I think that'll be.
Oh, I do have one last quick question. We talked about Isaiah Likely and Ricard going to the Giants, reuniting with Harbaugh. what do you think effect that has on the tight end? So, like, obviously Mark Andrews is now the tight end one again with no threat from Likely in Baltimore. And then Theo Johnson, who was coming on late last year as a potential tight end one in New York, is now going to be second on the depth chart to Likely. Do you think any of those three guys are going to be fantasy relevant, or is Mark Andrews too old and unreliable and the other two are going to split with each other?
Yeah, that actually is really interesting because I thought Theo Johnson was actually had the potential to be really good.
Yeah.
For the Giants, and athletically speaking is kind of like an Isaiah Likely. Man, you want me to pick here? You know how I feel about Mark Andrews. Like, I think everybody on this podcast knows how I feel about Mark Andrews after he dropped that 2-point conversion.
You can choose that none of them will be relevant. Like, that is an option. Right?
I am going to choose none of the above. Mark Andrews is going to just purely on volume. He will be fantasy relevant. But I'm going to choose none of the above. I don't want to touch any of them with 10 football.
Yeah, because I mean, I can see another one of those scenarios that we always get where you pick up Likely and he has a monster game to open the year because it's scripted for him for some random reason, and then you try to ride that the rest of the year, and the rest of the year he's a 2-catch for 20-yard guy.
Yeah, that's welcome to the Isaiah Likely effect. I've made that mistake before, and then the best way possible, it was when you have auction free agencies. So, like, you have the bids, and I spent all my money on Isaiah Likely after week 1 2 years ago, only for that to be his entire season total.
All right, homie. Well, that's all I got. If that's all you got, we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. Any final thoughts to send out to Delver Nation?
Don't be a Raider fan. If you have a choice, just choose not to.
Hey, you better raise that boy to be a Raider fan. I know you want to give him a good life, but
I mean, it's too late. He already is.
Okay.
If I have to have generational trauma, he has to have generational trauma. There's just no way out of that.
Yeah, you don't want to break the cycle.
No.
All right.
Can't break it.
Say goodbye. I'm starting the bumper music. Peace out, Delvers. We outie.
See ya.